Thank you, Connie. That's beautiful. Good morning, everyone. So glad to see you this morning. I was just thinking as I was sitting here and listening to Connie that we are about to go into the fourth month of this great pause, this great adventure, this really dramatic time of change and shift. And I don't know about you, but for me, a little self evaluation. Has it been that way for you? A time to think about what is important, what really matters to us, and what are we creating in our life? It's very interesting. I've learned that I probably should come up with another hobby besides going out to dinner. There's got to be, we have to think about what we do in our life to create fun and create connection and create joy. And we have talked about that all month, haven't we? We've talked about connecting around truth and understanding that our truth is different than somebody else's truth. And that can be okay, can it? Like we can have different truths. In fact, most of the time we do. Most of the time, what we believe, even though we think we all believe the same thing, is very different. If you took all 170 members of our Unity Spiritual Center and you asked each of us to define what the common beliefs are, I bet we'd have 172 opinions, right? We all do this a little bit different. And we talked about power. We talked about the power that we have over people and how sometimes we use control as a way to try and connect. And we talked about the power that we have inside of us to take action, to be in a space of connecting. And we talked about the power that is kind of the polarity struggle we're in right now. And polarity is kind of a misnomer, isn't it? Because it's not just two ways of doing things that we're looking at on the planet. It's many different problems and many different ways of doing things and many different ways of being with each other as humanity that we've been exploring. But our theme has been connecting from the heart. And that has been the thing that we've talked about now for 5 or 6 weeks. And so I'd like you to do me a favor. I'd like you to go to the bottom of your screen, and most of you know where this is, but in case you don't, there's a little place that says chat, and I'd like you to click on that. And then at the bottom of the screen, it says type message here. I would like you, make sure it says to everyone, because if you've been chatting with friends, you'll only be seen by whomever you've been chatting with. So make sure you go to so that the to bar says to everyone. And I would like you to close your eyes for a minute before we do this exercise. And I would like you to quietly allow to emerge one word, just one word, about what is alive in your heart today. What is helping you to connect or not helping you to connect? One word that speaks to what you have gained in the last 5 weeks. That's a lot of coaching. Just pay attention to the first word that comes up and open your eyes and chat it and put it in the chat box. Go ahead and do that now. And we're just going to watch the words come up. Gosh, transformation, grace, love, hope, desire, oneness, forgiveness, gratitude, loving kindness, peace, grounded, love, hope, faith, compassion, hope, lots of hope. I'm liking this. Rest, yes. Family, humility, acceptance, light, health, peace, compassion, gratitude, freedom. Gosh, these are great words. Refinement. That's a beautiful word for us. That's a really beautiful word. God. Uncertain. Thank you, Jim. We are uncertain, aren't we? Nature. I know that has been a kind of a touchstone and connecting point for a lot of people. Patience. Oh my gosh, Sherry, yes. Patience, patience, patience. I see patience, several mentions of patience. Inspiration, confidence, oneness, love. So there's a lot there, isn't there? There's a lot of stuff that we've gained. You know what is interesting to me? The one word I have for you today is not on that list. It's surprising to me. So it must be the word that we need today because it hasn't shown up for anyone. And so I'm going to, and I was telling Connie, I woke up, she and I usually communicate a little before about what we're going to talk about and what kind of, what touchstone words I can give her to help her define the music. So I was excited to see what she would come up with this morning because I got up this morning and the message I thought I was delivering had changed. And that sometimes happens to me, that when I actually, whether I'm in the sanctuary or I'm behind this screen, that sometimes what I think I'm going to be talking about and what I wake up knowing I'm talking about are really different things. And and this is not so dramatically different this morning, but it definitely took a turn I didn't expect when I got up this morning and kind of reflected on where I was going with this. So the word that I woke up with in my mind this morning was the word intention. The word intention as we wrap up this time. And of course, we never wrap up the work of connecting, do we? Never. And we're going into a fourth month of connecting in a very different way than we have connected in the past on every level of our life, not just around our spiritual community, but with our families, with our friends, with our next door neighbors, with the postman who, funnily, when he comes, is that a word? Funnily, funny. when my postman comes and I'm out in the yard, I have to walk, instead of saying, good morning, thanks, hand me the mail, I have to walk 6 feet away, right? And let him go to the mailbox and put the mail in and talk to him from across the yard. So this, like on every level of relationship, we're doing this different right now out of care for one another and out of care for ourselves. And trying to stay in a place of caring for one another and caring for ourselves without sliding into too much fear, because that's not comfortable and it's not valid. I don't want to say it's not valid. We have something to fear, but it's not productive for us. So we're working to stay in a place of care with one another. So when I went to bed last night, my prayer was that I would wake up with clarity around this message, because this message is meant to bridge us. 3 months, 90 days of going through separation, that's a long time. It's a long time to experience isolation. It's a long time to be in a state of uncertainty and in a state of change. It's a long time, this last 3 months. And we are going into a new month. So I've been very prayerful about this message needing to be the next step, because I tend to think of the year in quarters. And so I've been very prayerful about what this next few months might look like. We don't know. Our board is set to discuss whether we can go back in our building at the end of this month. Looking at things in the news right now, I have some doubts. I'm sure that you do too. Things are starting to heat up again. But I don't want to completely count it out, because that's a board decision and I don't know where we are with it. However, I want us to be prepared. I want us to be very honest and very vulnerable with one another about the fact that we don't know, as we step into the fourth month or the next potential quarter of this process. We don't know what's going to happen. But here we are. Here we are, looking at the faces on the screen. still together. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk we could have been thrown out of our building, had our whole lives changed the way they've changed, and we would, week after week, show up behind this little box to see each other's faces, because really, isn't that the most important gift that we get out of this time when we're together? That we know in real time we are seeing each other. That in real time we are here. This is not a recording. You can watch the recording, and if you're watching the recording and you couldn't be here with us when it was live, that's okay. We're holding this energy, this space of connection, and playing in a field of connection that we've never had to play in before. One that says it isn't about the physical form. It isn't about hugging everybody, even though that's what we miss. And it isn't about being in the same space, and it isn't about sharing breakfast. It's about bringing our hearts to a place of connection, isn't it? So here we are, connected. And several times in this process, I've invited you to willfully and intentionally send the energy of your heart out to the community, as though you could build an instantaneous spider web out right from your heart, all the way out to all the loving hearts that are on the other side of the screen, and to all the loving hearts that for one reason or another are not on the screen with us this morning, but remain part of our community. I've invited you to do that often. I invite you to continue to do that often, and to remember that you don't have to be looking at the screen to do that. That we can connect anytime we want to, because we are a community. We are a unity community. We are a group of people committed to one another. And really, we talked about earlier that we might have, out of 171, we might have 172 different beliefs, right? Because some of us are not even sure what we believe yet. And yet, here we are, committed. So if our beliefs are not all exactly the same, what are we committed to? What brings us here? My belief is we're committed to each other. We're committed to showing up. We're committed to some kind of grand experiment. When this particular group of people comes together, some wave of love goes out into the universe that has the rainbow flavor of us. That would never be exactly the same if any other group of people came together. There is something intentional about your life right now, in this very moment, something intentional that brought you here, that invites you into connection with one another, something intentional that you're doing. And I wonder if you've named it. I wonder if you have given thought to it, if you have visited lately the power of your intention. And intention is different than goal setting, isn't it? So intention, goal setting is this thing we want to do. I want to get my closet cleaned out. Great goal. You know, that closet you never get to, the junk drawer, whatever it is. I want to do that. That's a goal. It's a thing to do. To have an intention for your life is something so much bigger than that. You might think of it as a tone that everything else runs through. This is the measurement of how you will live rather than what you will do. So many of you know Susan and David Schwartfeger. Susan's tone for her life, her intention has been joy. And she has been working on it for years. And if you watch her Facebook posts, you'll see that Susan posts about joy on an almost daily basis. And I so admire her strong intention because every day she puts it in front of the world. This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. Everything I'm doing is running through this particular intention in who I will be. And she reminds herself every day by taking the time to make that post. What is it that you do every day to remind yourself of your intention for your life? So when we step into intention, we are stepping beyond this connection with one another into a connection with the divine. We are putting into action that teaching that we have about the law of mind action. That when we have this brimming well of energy, potent potential available to us, brimming, like as if there were a top to the universe. There is more energy available to us than we know what to do with, than we even reach out to try and do with. And our beginning to tap that energy is our intention. The intention to connect to the holy, the connection to open our hearts and allow guidance to come forward. The intention to call from that field of potential a state of being that gets us through whatever it is we're doing the way we want to get through. How do you want to get through this time? What is the state of being that you choose to be in as we go through the next steps in this interesting, challenging, remarkable, extraordinary life we're living? How would you like each day to be? So intention is a practice. And in my mind, it is the greatest, most powerful spiritual practice we have. When we intend for our life to be a certain way, it's like taking the steering wheel in the universe, isn't it? And steering to where we want to point our nose. I am going that way. So we've been living in a time of great uncertainty. And we've been talking and using that word. Life is uncertain. Life is difficult. Life is challenging. Life is lonely. Life is boring. My mother said boring. Life is terribly boring right now. Yes. And is that where we want to stay? What is our intention for this time? Imagine, if you will, that we have been given the gift of a time in our life to stop and consider our intention. What would we intend? Perhaps we would intend to live from a place of love. The reason I chose the video that I showed before we started this morning is because it talked about the human connection, the deep connection of humanity around love. How would it be if every morning you woke into an intention of truly experiencing love? Would you walk in and love that you had a coffee maker and a cup to put your coffee in? Would you love when you walk outside and there are birds singing? Would you love who you miss enough to pick up the phone and call them from love instead of loneliness, so that you could tell them how much you love them? And that nothing, no amount of distance between you could separate your hearts. What if you Live like Susan has been living, in an intention of joy. You would find out that you either know what joy is or you don't know what joy is. But if you steered towards joy every day, do you think you might find some along the way? Yeah, you might actually begin to find it. This intention setting is what I want to invite you into this morning. I want to invite you, not that you have to have the answer to what your intention is right now, because this is a huge and important thing. This is not something you should just jump into. Ahriana said I have to have an intention. My intention is what? What I'd like to invite you to do is to prayerfully, and that means to make time, doesn't it? Because prayer isn't about beseeching from God to give me the answer to this question. Prayer is about placing yourself in the heart of the divine, knowing that you have the inner guidance that you need. It's about slowing down and connecting to something bigger than just your day-to-day mind, connecting into the divine heart and allowing something to emerge from within you that moves you, that changes your state of being. So I'm inviting you to prayerfully make space and time for your inner guidance, your inner divine, to bring up into your consciousness the next intention for you. The intention that sets the tone for this next period of time. We can celebrate. We made it through 3 months, guys. Here we are. We made it through 3 dang hard, difficult, challenging, unusual, never done this before months. How shall we do the next 3 months? And this isn't about whether our doors open, and it isn't about the people we get to see or the vacations we take or don't take. It's about every day of our life, living from what emerges from the divine inside of us, giving intention to our life, not tasks, but intention through which all of those tasks are felt and seen and experienced. Take a moment now and close your eyes. I invite you to settle into your heart for a moment. Really settle in. You might want to place your hand there. Not because we're not talking about the physical heart, are we? We are talking about connecting to something deep inside of us, to that void where potential lives, to that place where the divine mind communicates through us and as us, to the deep, deep wisdom that emerges when we let all of the ego and everything else fall away and we go vulnerable and soft. And when we go into that soft and vulnerable place, we connect with the holy in a powerful and profound way. Let your belly be soft. Let your body be soft. Let your eyes be soft and your mind be soft. And let yourself be allowing in this moment. Any shields that you have that question this state of vulnerability, let the shields down. Simply set them down. You can pick them up anytime. Simply set them down for a moment and allow yourself to move to the core of your being. That core that you were as a child when you were born into this body. That very innocent place. That place so close it could still touch heaven and yet entering into a new adventure. That's where you are. That's where your divine heart is. It's where we all are. It's where we connect at our deepest point. In the place of pure, unfiltered, undefined, unnamed love. This is the place from which other intentions can evolve. Take a moment now in the silence and experience this deep love. And as you begin to feel it, allow the feeling to expand, moving from what we call our heart space out through our body, through our arms and legs, and up through the top of our head and down through our feet, all around us. Allow this core love, this essential aspect of who we are, allow it to make its presence known to you, because it's not new. It's there with you every day. It's who you are. Simply allow your consciousness to follow that field, noticing that as you reach out, finding the field of love and finding the field of love and finding the field of love, that there is a bridge of love that connects you to each person who is dear to your heart, to this place that we share, to the sense of humanity that is growing amongst us as society. Notice that love does not discriminate what it will connect to, that it connects to ideas and to thoughts and to places and to people, that it pulls all the little loose threads into one being, a sense of love. Notice as that expands, that word, that little 4-letter word, comes nowhere close to expressing what is truly there, here, everywhere. This deep connecting energy that is the divine within us, around us, all about us, in all things and everywhere. This is who you really are. And so it is.
the last bite of bread I had to eat. I would swim out to save you in your sea of broken dreams. When all your hopes are sinking, let me show you what love means. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? I would whisper love so loudly every heart would understand that love and only love can join the tribes of man. I would give my heart's desire so that you might see. The first step is to realize it all begins with you and me. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's when we stand together? It's our finest hour. We can do anything, anything, if we keep believing in the power to build a bridge between your heart and mine. Oh yes, love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Love and only love. Love and only love.
Let's take a deep breath in and release. I always love when things fall into place. And my friend Tony Bain calls it synchro divinity. When, when the divine is so present and things happen so with so much synchronicity that you know it's not by accident. That's the kind of morning this has been. It's a pleasure to spend this time with you. And before we move on to other things, I want to invite you to take your cursor up to the top right-hand side of your screen. And if you are not already in gallery view, please click there to go into gallery view. If you have your screen dark and you're willing to turn your camera on, if you feel comfortable doing that, please take this moment to be on screen so that we can see your faces and just really see each other. Take a minute to go through box by box and notice that we are doing this together, that we are here and we are connected I don't know how many pages it is on your screen. It's 3 pages for me. So there's a little arrow on the side of your screen, and you can scroll across and see everyone's face. And just take that moment to really notice that we are doing this together, that all over our city and outside of our city. I know that Anne's here, so I know we're all the way to Wisconsin this morning. Like we are all over the place, you guys. Kind of amazing, isn't it? Just notice that we are connected, that we are here together, that we are seeing each other's real faces. And remember that this that we're seeing, this is why we're here. It's not because we have all the same exact beliefs. It's not because we have nothing better to do on our Sunday mornings. It's because our community is precious to us. It's because we as human beings need to see each other in real time. It's because this brings nourishment to our souls to spend this bit of time together. And it's because it gives us some invitation to do something going forward, doesn't it? In this case, to be intentional going forward. So thank you. Most sincerely, thank you for being here together, for doing this great work, for being willing to stretch beyond whatever we thought was comfortable into a new place of comfort. Thank you. We had our annual meeting, or not our annual meeting, but our special meeting this week on Wednesday. We made a decision together, a unanimous decision, which was actually surprising to me. A unanimous decision to put the Fillmore Center on the market and sell it with the intention of paying off our main building. It is a big choice, a difficult choice. And so we have changes coming around that we'll be working through. It also is important to recognize as we go forward that we either get to keep ourselves in the place of the consciousness of loss, or we actually get to recognize something. I shared a story at this meeting, and I want to share it with you here because it was very important to me, and perhaps it will bring you comfort at this time. On the 7th of this month, I was expecting, prior to all of this happening, to make some big shifts. And so it was a day that I had set aside for reflection. And when we got to the 7th of June and I began reflecting, I first went to the place of all of the things that have been done in the last 10 years that I've been here and how they were all evaporating. All these different things. Our bingo game was evaporating. All of the different forms of additional revenue were evaporating. Our way of being together was evaporating. Our beautiful music team and all of the work that they'd done was evaporating. All of these things that we have come to hold on to, that we have grown and cultivated over the last 10 years, are not accessible to us right now. And I had a nice little pity party about it for a while. I was pretty distressed with all of it. And I called out to a minister friend of mine. His name is Jean-Marie. Some of you may have met him. He came to visit several months ago. He's down at Unity of Fort Worth, and he said, "What's up for you?" I said, "I'm having a crummy day." This terrible stuff. And I just kind of downloaded everything that was terrible in my mind. And he listened. He's a really good listener. And he said, "So what if that's not what's happening?" And I'm paraphrasing. These are not his exact words. But what I took away from the conversation was this. What if that was exactly what needed to happen for that 10 years? What if every single thing we've done for the past 98 years, because we're almost 100 years old, what if everything that we've done has been exactly what it was supposed to be for the time it was happening? Here we are, almost 99 years old, almost 100 years old, one of the oldest unity communities in the movement. Here we are. We made it this far. This is not, we were a community during the time of the Great Depression. We were a community through wars, through strife, through change, through assassinations. We were a community through so many historic events. And here we are, approaching 100 years. And as we look at who we are and how we got here, wouldn't it be fair to say everything we ever needed to get to this point, Spirit has put in front of us? Everything we've ever needed, because here we are. So we either get to look at this, looking at life through a lens of loss, or we get to look at this and say, as Richard Anthony would say, I can't wait to see what good comes out of this. What wonderful things are ahead of us? Yes, they're going to look different. Life is changing for us dramatically, quickly. And something amazing is about to emerge. And it will be the perfect thing to take us through to the next phase of whatever Unity Spiritual Center in the Rockies is becoming. And the thing that has kept us here for 100 years is our willingness to change, our willingness to meet the next need of the community that we serve, the community that we are part of, the energy that we hold in this area of Colorado Springs, this Pikes Peak region in the world. So I'm on the verge of excitement about this. There's just something in my heart that says we can't even see what exciting thing is about to happen. So I want to invite you into that awareness. I want to invite you to hold the gates wide open for Spirit to pour into this space through all of us who are here at exactly the right moment, in exactly the right way, that through us and as us and from us, something amazing is about to occur, as it has day after day, month after month, year after year, for nearly 100 years. And if we can hold that gate wide, it will happen easily and effortlessly. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited to share this with you and excited about where we're going. So thank you again. Thank you for making time to be here today. Thank you for being willing to walk through the fire, because it's a little, my feet get hot some days, but I know I'm not alone. And thank you for who you are and who you bring to this community in all the ways that you show up. We're going to make a change this week. We have been for the past 3 months doing comfort circles every Tuesday and Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday evening. We are going to make a change. I have not had a chance. I know Julie's on here. I have not had a chance to talk to her, so she's hearing about this as we're going. Julie, I'm not sure what you'll want to do with this, but we'll leave it in your hands and allow you to explore. What I'm going to do is, first of all, I am going to move from Wednesday night to Tuesday night, because we have some people who can't attend on Tuesday night. So I'm going to move to being online every Tuesday night from 6 to 7 o'clock with you. And have any of you noticed that we're doing this very cool summer program? It's called the summer, it's for our kids, for our elementary kids, and it's called the Summer of Anything Goes. So we are going to do the Tuesday night of Anything Goes. That means I have no idea what we're going to do that night. It means we might be talking about intention and how to set intention, or we might be talking about the 12 powers, or I might be inspired to open the doors and have a guest speaker you don't know yet come in. It means that Tuesday night will be an opportunity for you to gather, and I'll give you a hint before we gather. So watch the Facebook page, you'll get a little hint. But we're just going to make some time for each other, and we're going to move from the place of needing to comfort to being more present and continuing to grow our souls. Okay. And in that place, if we find a time that comfort is needed, we can certainly work on that. But we're going to do the next thing and begin learning together again. Tuesday night, 6 o'clock, an evening of anything goes. We'll get some information out to you about it, and I'll talk with Julie and see what Julie wants to do next, and we'll just move forward in an excited way. If you have any reason to go by the church, you should know that they're doing huge construction on the road and they're tearing the road up and putting pipes in, and you cannot get there. So I went up on Friday. Mark and I drove by there on Friday, and we got about 5 o'clock, and the construction crew was out front. So I actually had an opportunity to have a conversation with the construction boss, and he said at least a week, possibly 2 weeks, we're going to be like that. So just know that if you happen to be one of those people, someone said to me, I just went and sat on the bench out front because I wanted to be there. Now is not a good time to go sit on the bench. You cannot get there easily. I'll let you know when the construction has cleared up. Okay? Thank you again for being here. Thank you for your sweet hearts. I will be here on Tuesday night. I will be here again next Sunday. And next Sunday, we'll be introducing a new theme. So be sure and put it on your calendar, and you'll hear more about it as we go into the week. Connie, I'm going to pray us out, and then will you close us out with music? All right, then. Let's take another deep breath. Let's remember that our intention is the seat of inspiration. That coming into that centered place of interconnection from the heart invites our intention to emerge. Let us affirm that we are open to receive that attention, that it is moving to us and through us even now. Let us affirm our willingness to receive, our willingness to practice, our willingness to shift and change in a way that brings us greater joy, greater happiness, greater comfort, that allows us to see the blessings of this powerful and amazing time. We're grateful for each other. Most especially, we're grateful for each other, for the commitment of our hearts that bring us to this place together, for this unity community and this community in unity. We're grateful. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Ahriana, for you've given me so much to think about. I'm going to be thinking until Tuesday night. Please join me, everyone. Let the light within you shine. We are all connected. Look into one another's eyes. See our light reflected. We are one light, shining souls in harmony. We are one light, shining in unity. Bye, everyone. Have a blessed, blessed week of anticipation of all the new exciting things that could be coming up very quickly.